Good morning, Zoners. Welcome back to the channel. This is about the third attempt, so it don't bode well, but let's see how we go. Welcome to the first Saturday review video that I've done. I've never done one of these before, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, but we'll just sort of fly through it and see how we go. It's going to be an occasional series, once every month or two. I'll let you know when it's going to be. Basically, just gives me plenty of time to get films watched and gives me stuff to talk about. So, right, let's get straight into it. What have I been watching? The good thing about having plenty of time to actually do this, as I say, every month or two, is that it's given me time to tie up a lot of the loose ends of franchises that I started. I think, Jason, you picked me up on this one, is that I got a nasty habit of starting to watch a series of films and then moving on to another one before I finished the one before. So I've managed to tie up some of the loose ends. I'll just get rid of this string. First one is the Back to the Future trilogy. Really enjoyed these. I was told by a colleague at work that their favourite one was number 3, and they thought that my favourite one was going to be number 3. Part 3 was good. Part 2 was good. Part 1 was brilliant. It is, I mean, this is what they class as the perfect trilogy. And I can absolutely see why. It is faultless. I posted what turned out to be a fan trailer a couple of weeks ago for Back to the Future 4, I think it was. And it did get quite a reaction. It got quite a reaction on the internet from basically everybody saying, what the hell are you doing? Don't even think about it. I can kind of see why. This is as good as it gets. This is 80s sci-fi comedy fantasy at its absolute best, starring the wonderful Michael J. Fox. I don't even need to tell you anything about this one because you've all seen this. This is another one that I was very late to the party. I only saw the original for the first time, I think it was last year. So it's took me the best part of 40 years to actually catch up with it, but I'm so glad that I did. So this is one franchise that I have now completed. There's a host of special features on this Blu-ray, which I would like to wade through at some point. But you're talking like feature-length documentaries, and I've got so much else to get through. But Back to the Future, if you've not seen it, highly recommended. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, just regret not catching up with it sooner. The next one I got to finish was the Mad Max movies. This is called the Mad Max Anthology. It's a Blu-ray set of Mad Max 1, 2, which I believe was known as the Road Warrior, Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome, and Mad Max Fury Road. I remember going to see the original Mad Max at the Burton Odeon in, it would have been 1979. And I have to say, that first 10 or 15 minutes absolutely took my breath away. It was just amazing. I'd never seen anything like it. And I loved it. I've always loved the original. The second one, not bad, good for a sequel. I'm not sure I'll watch it again, I don't know. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, superb. Liked it more than anything for the fact that Tina Turner was in it, and I do love the track We Don't Need Another Hero. I just absolutely love it. I think it's one of the best songs from a movie ever. Fury Road, it's a divisive one, isn't it? Some love it and some hate it. I have to say I'm going to fall on the side of wasn't keen. I did watch it. Tom Hardy does an admirable job of playing Max. Unfortunately, he isn't Mel Gibson. Not that that should matter. He still did a decent job of playing it. It just didn't do an awful lot for me. Would I watch it again? Maybe. I don't know. But judging on the first viewing, probably not. But I will hold on to this box set because I will almost certainly watch the first 3 again, definitely, and possibly Fury Road, I don't know. But I've got to say that I fall on the side of not overly keen, I'm afraid, on Fury Road, so that's that one. Next one, Indiana Jones. Now these are what they class as the complete adventures. This is Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, The Last Crusade, and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, total and utter classic. Again, remember seeing this at Burton Odeon. First 15 minutes, it was like, wow, what a movie. And there were only 15 minutes into it, and it didn't disappoint. It just got better. So absolutely superb. Temple of Doom, brilliant sequel. I think it's one of those rare beasts that where the sequel is as good, if not better than the original. I would not class it as better, but it certainly equals it without a doubt. So yeah, Last Crusade. This is a lot of people's favourite because Sean Connery is in it, playing Indiana Jones's dad. River Phoenix plays a younger version of him at the beginning. I've got to say this is probably my least favourite of the first three. Let's put it that way. For no other reason than I don't think you can better Lost Ark or Temple of Doom. It came close, but if I had to pick an indie adventure to watch again, it would definitely be Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first one. Now, Crystal Skull, I remember watching it a long time ago on DVD. I can't say it did a massive amount for me. I can certainly see why it got a lot of criticisms when it first came out. People just weren't keen on it. I enjoyed it this time round a lot more than I did the first time I watched it. I just thought it was really, really good. Obviously not as good as the original, but Crystal Skull is definitely one that I would say I'll watch it again. So yeah, 4 brilliant movies. Best is Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, probably Kingdom of the Crystal Skull slightly before The Last Crusade. That's probably a bit controversial to say that, but yeah, a cracking series of movies. Can't go wrong with them. What else have I got here? Well, that's all the franchises caught up with. Got a chance to watch this one. Now, this stars Joan Collins and James Booth. It's a grim tale. This is basically what I think the British did better than anybody, is early 70s lurid, sort of grim thrillers. It begins at a funeral where Joan Collins and James Booth are burying their daughter, who was abducted, raped and murdered by a man. They caught him, and it turns out they let him go because they haven't got enough evidence to convict him. So they cook up a plan with a friend of theirs whose daughter was also abducted and murdered, to kidnap this man and teach him a lesson. And it just goes absolutely apeshit, batshit crazy from there on. It's a cracking movie. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm not sure I'll watch it again. It's one of those that you watch, typical early 70s. It does leave a bit of a bad taste in your mouth when you've watched it, but I thought it was really, really good. Joan Collins is superb. She was born to play a barmaid. I don't know why, but she just plays it really well. So, and one little interesting bit of trivia I read about this: they run a pub, and the pub that they run is the same pub used in Carry On Abroad. And you know straight away, as soon as you see it, you think, I've seen that place before. So I looked it up, and that's what it is. It was produced by Peter Rogers, who did a lot of the Carry On films, and a lot of the background music is very sort of Carry On, but without the comedy, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I'd recommend that if you've not seen it. It's called Revenge. I believe it went under a lot of other titles when it first came out. Next one. Oh, this is a controversial one. Love Thy Neighbour. Where to start with this one? Again, this is what the British did in the 70s, is comedies that you just couldn't make nowadays. For those of you that don't know, it concerns two sets of neighbours. You've got Joan and Eddie, who are white, and Barbie and Bill, who are black. They live next door to each other. Joan and Barbie are best mates. Bill and Eddie are anything but, constantly fighting, bickering, arguing. There's a lot of racial slurs thrown about, and the situation is pretty much made worse when Eddie's mother-in-law comes for a visit, and also Bill's father turns up from Trinidad. Um, you pretty much know what this is all about. To me, it was just good fun. I mean, there was a, let me get this right, I'll read this out. Brit Movie, a magazine, wrote, "This dated, politically incorrect tale of bigotries and one-upmanship is sprinkled with ignorant comments and insults that are frequently more laughable than offensive when viewed today." And that's basically how I feel about it. You listen to it now and it does make you cringe when they come out with these insults, because obviously you absolutely could not do any of that now. It just wouldn't fly at all. Um, but back then it was just what we laughed at. And when you look at it from a certain angle, it is more stupid than offensive. But you certainly wouldn't see that on TV now, not on terrestrial TV. And I'm fairly certain that none of the streaming services would touch it with a barge pole either. But if you get a chance to watch it, if you like British comedy of the early 70s where pretty much anything went, this is brilliant, because Jack Smethurst is just amazing. Um, he's superb, and obviously Rudolph Walker, who plays Bill the neighbour, is now better known as Patrick Truman in EastEnders. Um, so yeah, if you like your comedy with no holds barred, pretty much where everybody says exactly what they think, this is one to watch. Absolutely. Next one is this one. It's called The Monster. It also went under several other different titles. One, I think, was I Don't Want to Be Born. Um, this is a really lurid, nasty little thriller. I saw this a long, long time ago, but I'm guessing the version that I saw was a cut version, because there are scenes in this that I don't remember seeing, and I'm fairly sure that they would stick in my mind. Basically, Joan Collins gives birth to a baby. It turns out it looks like it's possessed by the devil. It's a cracking story. It's got Ralph Bates, who's an old stalwart of the later Hammer movies, such as Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, which is one that I really need to catch up on. But this is a really, really good movie. It's got a cracking 70s soundtrack to it. Um, but be warned, it's got some really nasty scenes in there that I don't remember seeing when I first watched it. Um, which would have been on VHS, and I think it was known as I Don't Want to Be Born back then. I don't really know why they've rebranded it The Monster, but this DVD has got some cracking features on it, interviews with the stars and stuff like that, Blu-ray I should say. But if you get a chance to watch it, this is an entertaining way to spend 90 minutes if you want to see how we did horror in the 70s in Britain. That's a good place to start. Amistad. This is like a mini episode of The Loners. These are two movies coming up now that I've been loaned, and thank you guys for lending me these. This is a difficult movie to watch. The slave, I've got some notes here. The horrors of slavery really are depicted in graphic detail on this one. It is basically a slavery-based movie. The conditions in which these poor people were kept on board ship were just vile. It's directed by Steven Spielberg. It's a true story. If you get a chance to watch this, I would highly recommend it. Just be warned again that there are some pretty violent, nasty scenes in this, mostly aboard ship, when you see the conditions that they were kept in. It's 2.5 hours long. You've got Matthew McConaughey, you've got Anthony Hopkins, you've got quite a few stars in this. I would definitely recommend it. If you enjoy series like Roots, possibly the movie 12 Years a Slave, which I haven't seen but I've heard is very similar to this, I would definitely recommend this. It's a cracking watch, but it's a difficult watch. So that's that one. And this one I watched yesterday. I thoroughly enjoyed this. As you know, I'm going through a bit of a Jackie Chan phase at the moment. I've just been introduced to one called Super Cop, which I believe was Police Story 3. This is the latest one that I've watched, that I was loaned. I thought this was really, really good. This is from what they call his Hollywood phase. A lot of his better movies were obviously the Chinese movies, the Mandarin movies that he made. They're the ones that I'm most interested in. But I thought I'd give this a go, and I was thoroughly entertained by it. It's a kind of a crossbreed of something like Indiana Jones and Lara Croft. Um, it's a difficult one to explain. You've got an archaeologist played by Jackie Chan who is having recurring dreams of a Chinese concubine who's being transported from one place to another to be the emperor's sort of concubine. Um, you've got two stories running parallel. You've got modern day, which is him trying to find out what the hell these dreams are all about, and you keep dipping into the past to tell you what the dreams are all about. Um, I thought it was really good. This is one that I'm definitely going to purchase on Blu-ray. It is worth watching for the rat glue factory scene alone, which is absolutely amazing. I've never seen a fight scene like it, and it's worth getting and watching just for that. I've got another Jackie Chan film to get through called Heart of Dragon, which hopefully I'll be able to talk about next time. Next time I do one of these. But if you get the chance to watch this, it's 2 hours, but it is a really, really entertaining 2 hours. It was made in 2005, so he was getting on a bit, and I think this was one of his sort of final physical movies. He admitted himself after making, I believe it was the Zodiac Incident or something. I can't remember what it's called now, but I think that was his last action film, and he admitted himself that he was getting far too old for all the acrobatics and stuff like that. But this, I thought this was superb. Really, really enjoyed it. So thanks for loaning me those, guys. I'll get those back to you. Right, what have I been buying? Let's start with these. I've bought some, basically, I've upgraded to 4K, so I thought I'd get another 4K disc. I've got Star Wars. Can't have Star Wars without having The Empire Strikes Back. I've not watched it yet. I have popped it in and just had a look at the quality of it, and it is absolutely superb. Is it much different from the Blu-ray? I think it is. Yeah, I think it's a better quality picture. But this obviously made in 1980. What a classic. Another example of the sequel being as good, if not better, than the first one. Obviously, the first one was Star Wars: A New Hope, but I'm definitely looking forward to watching this and Star Wars on 4K and getting Return of the Jedi. Now that I know there's a major difference in the quality. Next one. This was me in HMV last week. Came out with 50 quid's worth. I haven't seen this for ages. I didn't think it was available. I'd looked for it everywhere and I couldn't find it. Saw it in HMV, had to have it. Wolfen, stars Albert Finney. It's a different kind of werewolf movie. I've never seen anything quite like this. It was based on a book by Whitley Strieber, who also wrote the book Communion, which they made into a brilliant movie starring Christopher Walken to do with alien abduction, which I loved. So when I took this in, I was expecting big things from it, and it was absolutely brilliant. I haven't seen it for many years, so I'm really looking forward to watching that. Next one, Winning. This is Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, who I believe he later married. It's set around the world of motor racing, made about 1966. Again, I've already got, let's see, Le Mans, which was Steve McQueen, also Grand Prix starring James Garner, and also the Le Mans 66 movie with Matt Damon. And this, I think, will fit in very nicely with the season of motor racing movies set around the world of Grand Prix. That's about all I know about it. I know my dad used to love this. He used to watch this regularly when it was on TV. Next one. Is It Safe? Marathon Man. Oh, notoriously nasty. The only part people seem to remember about this vividly, and I don't blame them, is the dentistry torture scene. You've got Dustin Hoffman gets caught up in a plot to do with Nazi diamonds, and you've got Laurence Olivier as basically a Nazi dentist who is on the run and is forced to come out of hiding to get these diamonds. Dustin Hoffman gets caught up in the middle of this. You've got Roy Scheider is in this. William Devane is in this. It is a brilliant thriller, absolutely superb. highly recommended if you've not seen it. Do be prepared for the dentist scene. You may want to turn the sound down. I can now watch it, I'm happy to say, with the sound up because I've seen it so many times. But the first time I watched it, I had real problems with that. But it's a cracking movie if you've not seen it before. And the next one from HMV is part of a movement that I've started going into, Superfly. This is a blaxploitation movie. Now, blaxploitation movies began in around about 1971 with Richard Roundtree in Shaft, and they went pretty much right the way through the 70s. They're bright, they're colourful, they're violent. I just love these movies. I've only seen a couple of them, but the ones I've seen I've enjoyed, and I've now started collecting them. Let's see what I've got here, just bear with me. I've got quite a few here to go at. I may have shown these off before, so do forgive me. Coffee, Pam Grier. This is amazingly violent. I saw this on 8mm many years ago, and Glyn Williams actually put it on in his shop for me, and I was surprised at how nasty this was. But that's one. That is the sequel to it, Foxy Brown. Pam Grier was like the ultimate action black woman. I can see why Quentin Tarantino loves these movies. These are right up his street. Next one is Black Mama, White Mama, which I believe is set in a jail. If I'm correct in doing this, I think this was also called Women in Cages. So it's obviously one of those prison dramas. And finally, there was this one, Isaac Hayes in Truck Turner. Not seen it, so I don't know much about it, but these blaxploitation movies, I wouldn't say they're all the same, but they all run along a similar line. And obviously I couldn't get them without having the one that started it all, Shaft, with Richard Roundtree. This is a lovely little box set. I didn't realise it was a trilogy. You've got Shaft's Big Score and Shaft in Africa. These are 18s, so I'm guessing they're quite nasty. They're all from the early 70s, so I will be getting into those. And what started me off on it was this rather handsome looking book about blaxploitation cinema. Now this has got hundreds of titles that I really do want to get hold of. Do I dare try to flick through this? What you've got? There you go. I'll just flick through it very quickly. Look, there you go. Some of it I think is in colour and some of it isn't. But there were so many of these things. And there we go. Oh, some nice colour pictures there. Superfly, which is the one I've got. So many of them. There were hundreds. And I would love to get a proper collection. I look at these the way that Dave Lowe, my colleague, looks at his Jackie Chan movies with just great affection. I don't know why, but I do. So yeah, I will be coming back with more of those, and obviously reviews of the ones that I've already got at some point when I get a chance to watch them. The other two movies that I got, and I've been waiting for this for ages, it finally came through a couple of weeks ago, the Banana Splits movie. Nothing to do as such with the original Banana Splits that we all remember from summer holidays in the 70s. The costumes are the same, but I saw the trailer to this and just thought it looked amazing. I believe it's to do with a family that go or attend the taping of an episode of the Banana Splits, and it's something to do with them going apeshit and carrying axes about, and apparently this is really violent, so I don't think it's going to have much to do with what we class as the original series, but looking forward to watching that. And for some reason, all the articles that I read about the Banana Splits movie also mentioned this one in the same breath as one to do as a double bill, Willy's Wonderland. I know very little about this, apart from it's got Nicolas Cage in it. He breaks down, or sort of ends up spending the night in an abandoned theme park, amusement park, which is populated with these mannequin type things that come to life and start murdering people. It doesn't sound very interesting to me, but as a double bill, I think it'll work really well. So I will let you know when I've watched both of those. And the only other thing that I've really bought, let's see, I've got a stack of magazines here. You're quite right, Jason. How does he get time to watch all these? Who else had I'll get a chance to read them? Latest issue of Scream, which you've got an article in there on Dracula has risen from the grave and something on Hellraiser. The latest issue of SFX, which has got a cracking article which I need to read on Blood on Satan's Claw, classic folk horror movie. Latest issue of Empire, that shall have all the new releases in. The latest Sight and Sound, which, as I've said before, panders to my love of independent cinema. Total Film, love this one. I love the podcast. I listen to the podcast every Saturday morning. And also, latest issue of Doctor Who magazine, which attracted me immediately because there is something to do with the Sea Devils. Used to love the Sea Devils. Couple of issues of Film Stories, which features a movie called Unwelcome, which is apparently one of the big hitters on British horror movies for this year. And also another one. I don't even know what's in that one. I just tend to get these things because they make a good read. Right, reviews very, very quickly. I've got a couple of other little ones to go at here that I watched recently. Megan, the Killer Doll. It's been at the cinema. It's doing very well. It's smashing the box office. I thought it was all right. I enjoyed it. I had good fun with it. It wasn't anything special. It's not one that I'd ever watch again. But it was okay, if you like that kind of thing. St. Maud concerns a care worker, a care nurse, a deeply religious care nurse who is employed to look after a retired dancer who's led a pretty sinful life, and she decides to basically save her soul. It's a disturbing film. The final shot, which is about half a second, is horrible. But if you like your horror slightly obscure and a bit weird, St. Maud is definitely one to go for. It's brilliantly made, I will say that. I've also got the chance to watch Nolly, which was the story of, not Meg Mortimer, what was her name? Noel Gordon. Now, if you watched the soap Crossroads in the 70s, obviously you couldn't move for Noel Gordon, she was all over it. Played brilliantly by Helena Bonham Carter. I didn't realise this, and I don't know whether it's true or not. It's made by the same team that did It's a Sin, and they've portrayed Nolly as being very, very difficult to work with, which I would never have thought. Never have thought. She was such a lovely character, but apparently she wasn't the best to actually work with. But as a drama, it's cracking. It's in 3 parts, well worth watching. Especially if you're a fan of Crossroads, you will find it absolutely fascinating. One called The Vigil, I believe it's from about 2018 or 2019, basically concerns a young Jewish guy who is employed to guard the corpse of a recently passed Jewish person. It's a tradition, apparently, that they have to guard the corpse. It's as creepy as hell. If you get the chance to watch it, it's one of these that I didn't quite get the ending. So it's not one that I would watch again, but I'm certainly glad I watched it. But yeah, it was okay. And finally, Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. This is not my kind of film. It really isn't, but I thought, oh, have a look. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. The soundtrack is obviously all Whitney Houston songs, but it is really well done. It's 2.5 hours long. It is a cracking story. Stanley Tucci plays the manager so well, and the woman that plays, I forget her name, Whitney, is just brilliant. The concert scenes, the scenes of the songs are just amazing. I was really, really impressed with it, way more impressed than I thought I was going to be. So if you get a chance to watch that, I believe it's streaming on Prime. It costs, but it's worth watching. And finally, a TV series we've recently got into, Eli Roth's History of Horror. It's streaming on Shudder. Well worth watching. Every episode deals with a specific genre, whether it be zombies, slashers, vampires. Very, very good. Very, very interesting. He interviews a lot of the big hitters on the horror scene. They just bring it to life. The only one I didn't enjoy was the one that focused on torture porn, not was it torture porn? Torture horror? I can't watch torture. I did manage to get through it, but only just. A lot of it like this and like this, as I do. But yeah, if you like that kind of thing, if you like your horror movies and you want to find out more about, you know, specific titles and how they were filmed and stories behind them, it's called Eli Roth's History of Horror. Now, Eli Roth has directed some absolute classics. One that I daren't even watch called The Green Inferno, which I believe has been compared to what's that cannibal one? Cannibal Holocaust. Been compared to that, so you pretty much know what you're getting into. Right, that's it for this month. I'll be back again in a few more weeks with another Saturday review. Thanks ever so much for joining me. I hope it's worked out the way that I thought it would and that you enjoy it. If you have enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Also like, subscribe and share. That would be absolutely brilliant. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you all again in a few weeks, but I will be back with the Sunday service next Sunday. So next week you'll get double bubble. You will have this video on Saturday morning, and you'll have a Sunday service the following day. So thanks again for joining me, folks. Take care, and I will talk to you all again very soon. Ta-da.